Hi, I'm Bella Smith, and this is my intercultural speech for my online public communications class. We had to choose some kind of event or incident that had to do with discrimination, stereotypes, stuff like that. And so I chose a Muslim man being discriminated against for wearing his headpiece at his place of work. So there has been a lot of discrimination against Muslim over the years. It's a very big thing now, especially for wearing their headpieces. There have been things in the media of people yanking headpieces off of Muslim people and just being disrespectful towards them because they wear these headpieces. And there's so many different kinds of headpieces, but the one that I'm going to talk about in this story is called a kufi, and a kufi represents peace and tradition. It represents mourning and protection, and this is something that is very dear to Muslim people. And so when people threaten their lives to take these things off or take them off their head, it's a very like they can't control that this is something that they believe in. It's something that they have to wear because of who they are. But the site Okala Star Banner, they wrote an article on Marlon Daquan Guy, and he is one of the many people that face this kind of discrimination. He is an Okala resident, and he is from Trinidad, and he is now a U.S. citizen, but he worked at Denny's, a local Denny's where he lives, and soon after working there, they demanded he take off his headpiece, and they would make fun of him, and they would just be really mean to him about it. And so he obviously couldn't take that off because, like I said, they represent multiple things. It just depends on the individual of what they represent to Muslim people, but they're important to them. So it's not something they can just take off and not wear. And so at first they just took away his daytime shifts and made him work strictly night, which impacted him a lot because he says that nighttime people get paid less than daytime people. And also he had to totally change his life around to only work nighttime. He said one time him and another coworker who worked daytime switched, and after only 45 minutes of being at work, they told him to go home because he was only supposed to work nighttime because they didn't want people seeing his headpiece. So this went on for about 8 months, and during that time, Denny's had enough time to hire 9 more daytime workers when they could have just had him work daytime. But after all of this, after 8 months, in September of 2014, the Denny's wrote a letter to him saying he had 14 days to stop wearing his his kufi, or they were going to fire him because it was against dress code, which is not true. It's not against dress code. That turned out to be false. Guy filed a complaint to the EEOC, and they found this out because an investigation was opened, and Denny's found this out, and they fired him. And he came out to say that he was wrongly terminated because they had no right to fire him just for wearing something that was important to him. And the franchise owner actually came out and said that he was blowing it out of proportion and it wasn't as big of a deal as he was making it, and that they would never have discrimination like this. But he ended up even losing his house and having to move back in with his family because he couldn't wear this headpiece. There was a GoFundMe started for him, and many people sent him money, but he still said it wasn't enough. And in 2015, that's the last thing I could find something for this for. It was still under investigation, and that's all I could find on it. And I think that just goes to show that many of the people that are discriminated against never get justice. And even though this is such a small case and not that many people know about it, it's one of the many people who don't get justice for being discriminated against.